everyone, and welcome back. I'm excited to bring you today an interview with one of our collaborating experts and friends. Her name is Natalia Saldua, and she's going to be talking to us about Christ consciousness. In this interview, I'm going to ask some questions about what is Christ consciousness, what can we do about it, how is it used to improve our lives, whether it's spiritual or metaphysical or in this real world. She's been generous enough to spend her time and wisdom today, so let's enjoy. But let me introduce her first. So Natalia Saldua, she's Chicago born and raised. She's 29 years old and is a mother of 3 little ones and has already been initiated as a priestess of Innana. Her father is from Zacatecas, Mexico, and her mom is a first-generation Spaniard-American daughter. So as a child, Natalia lived in a Mexican low-poverty neighborhood called the Little Village, known as the Villita en la 26.
La Villita, yep.
Okay. And as a child, she felt that she had always had the best life, playing and living and enjoying everything around her. Although she grew up with a little middle-class parents that gave her everything, she always saw herself differently than those around her. Now, being the youngest of 3, she never felt that she lacked anything. Money and beautiful things that she always treated everyone the same. And she admits to having a few rebellious teenage years while battling life patterns and karmic soul ties that repeated during the quarantine that we all went through. So that process has actually led her to her journey of the shaman. So it had, okay, everything we just talked about is amazing. First of all, hi, and thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you. Oh God, what a journey when you're speaking and I'm like, somebody's understanding everything.
And there's so much to talk about. So let's break it down a little bit, just to go off the reference of what we just went through your bio. What does it mean to be initiated as a priestess of Innana, for those that don't know?
When it comes to being initiated, this means having the feminine archetype down to the core and that, maintaining that beast in every female.
Okay.
But still being the light and the barrier for those around you. For being a priestess, you need to see we're always bombarded with negativity and conflict. And with that, we have to sort out what best ways it will be that we can, not make ourselves dark like those people around us, so that we can heal, remain calm, remain still, and just be that light. Just be that light, because even, your own children are becoming rebellious too. Even your own mother or grandmothers are meeting you with the same energies now.
Right.
So being a part of this, it consisted of a lot of trials, a lot of lessons, and a lot of reflection and introspection. And this whole life is just an ongoing weave. And generation to generation, we're passing down so many patterns. And we just need to be able to connect those dots when somebody finally sees what the issue is. That's when, you're being called for something bigger than what you are. And that's what it meant for me when I was getting the signs of the universe. And when I found out, where is it that you come from? And it was being from my roots of Mexico with my father. You are, your father's seed and everything. And it was a beautiful process to see how a lot of these initiations went with hard trials and sacrifices, but it's beautiful to be able at the end, still be forgiving, still being there to help others, even when you want to bring out that beast,
right.
Even when you want to bring out that beast, it's a blessing. I'm going to say it's a blessing, but it was hard in that. And in that process of that hardship, it felt like a curse.
Right. And I think a lot of us go through that. And it's kind of that breaking point of when we go through the hard lessons and we're able to actually overcome them and see them. And yes, it's hell, because let's be real. It's hell when we're going through them. But it's when you come out to the other side that you're through them, that you're able to look back from a loving perspective and say, it helped this, or it broke this pattern, or it made me stronger in this. And you can see the light and the why. And then I think that's when you're able to do the forgiveness process, because you see it from a higher level. You understand it from a higher level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of higher level, so today we're here to talk about Christ consciousness. So let's start there. What is Christ consciousness?
Right. Christ consciousness is reparenting yourself. Literally. It's about being that, not only that light for those around you, but for the kids around that are not having those role models around to be the good for them. So Christ consciousness is literally you putting yourself in the position of a child too, in the shoes of, because you're seeing little souls looking up at you at what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this process of Christ consciousness, I believe that's where it woke me up to learn that, hey, everything in your script is good, but it's not as, you need to remove the rose-colored glasses.
Okay.
You need to, in the shaman, when I was figuring a lot of this out, it meant, what is Christ consciousness? Well, it's love, isn't it? And what is love? Love is everything I have, the beautiful Venusia things I have, the material wealth, the love that I'm getting and receiving. They're like, okay, let's go deeper than that. What is love deeper than that? Well, you have to know that you have a bond. It's intimacy, it's emotional connection. Mm-hmm. And learning that what woke me up to this Christ consciousness was that I couldn't do it with my kids. My 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, my 7-year-old, I couldn't connect with them emotionally. Oh my God, when I couldn't do that, and I'm seeing their father just sitting there loving them even after a hard day of work, and he's able to sit down and just chill out and watch the TV and just enjoy their presence. I'm seeing it from a different perspective, and I'm like, I want that. I want to enjoy my babies like that. Why can't I enjoy them like that? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Oh my God. I'm like, no, this isn't going. I'm sitting there telling me, Mom, it's over quarantine. They're like, Mama, come watch TV with me. But I'm the only one in this house. My significant other is working 14 to 16-hour day shifts. I'm alone in our new house with 3 kids. And now we're in quarantine lockdown, and I have to be the teacher, the chef, the maid, the nurse, the all of this. I have to get all the assignments ready. And I made my daughter a whole school classroom downstairs in the basement so that she was in her environment. Right. And what happened was, when I was balancing that, one day, all of a sudden, I see my daughter downstairs in the basement, and she's on her computer with Zoom. And then I'm balancing my other 2 little toddlers on upstairs, but I'm able to see her down the stairs where the computer's right there. So I peeped, and what happened was, when I peeped to see what she was doing, she's taking cameras while her teacher is talking. And then I go, Julissa, what are you doing? And then I'm like, damn, Mom, was it that serious? And it hit me there. It's like, Mom, chill. Like, you scared her. I saw the fear in her eye. And I said, oh my God, it's the reaction. Like, that's why I can't connect with my kids. That's why she can't connect with me. And so when I realized a lot of this in quarantine, it was difficult for me, because I felt it was very hard for me as a, traditional Mexican Catholic mom. We are the pillars of our family. We hold it together as much as the dads do too. Right. But dads, emotionally, we hold it together. Right. And it was hard for me to even be vulnerable. It was hard for me to even ask for help. It was hard for me to even say, I'm sinking here. I got a dishes full of sink, and a sink full of dishes, and I'm right here trying to battle my 2 toddlers and my daughter in school. I'm like, I'm drowning. I need help. And that's when a voice just came to me one day, because I was even having issues with my significant other. And I'm like, I know I'm not working this hard to not feel protected, to not feel seen and valued. And I know this feeling has happened before. What is this? Because now I'm not connecting with my kids. I'm not playing with them. I'm not enjoying them.
Right.
So it was like, so now that voice said, it's time to come within and come talk to me.
Right.
And that was weird because I never felt stillness like that, or just the call of come in, it's time to sit,
Right.
it's time to breathe. And because I was a rebellious teen. When I used to feel like that, I would fight I would fight those all around me. And I tried my very hardest not to be that. And when you're initiated in the process of being a priestess for Innana, you're a bull, and you got to know where to target that energy.
Right.
You need to know that you are very powerful, that you can demolish. The bull in the china shop will mess a lot of things up.
Yeah.
And not to mention my sign is a bull. I'm a Taurus. So I go, I'll go wild up when things are not nice and beautiful, that I worked hard to plant my little seed in the soil, and it's not coming out the way I wanted. And learning that Christ consciousness, learning the guru, the shaman, to go within, to be the light, the love. So that's what it is about, reparenting and being loved. Even if those methods weren't good, it's about overcoming them. And it's hard for your psyche to have a breaking point like that and be accepting, because it doesn't accept it.
Right. And okay, so you mentioned a few things, and I'll share my part of it, because it relates and we all see it differently. I love when you said you heard the voice to tell you to come in. But as moms, we do whatever we need to do as a mom for our children. When you recognize, in what you just said, when you recognize that what came out of your mouth was translated more into fear than into love, and it shocked you, that's what gave you a great aha and an opening to, okay, there has to be a different way. There has to be a better way. This is not the reaction that I want. And for you to have felt right away, come inside and you found that peace, that is the Christ consciousness. So that is that consciousness of love, of come inside, find balance, find love, because that is what we're able to share. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the collective thing. Honestly, we just ignore it.
Right.
It's a collective thing. It's our heart calling out to us, but the brain does not want to accept it.
Right.
And because we're so on thoughts all the time, we don't connect with the heart, because we're so air. The shamans use elements, air, earth, wind, and fire. And our thoughts are considered to be connected to air. Air, because we're always up high. We're always thinking stuff. We're always, and we are conditioned like that. By the time we're 3 years old, we're already in early education. By the time we're 5, we're already in kindergarten, meeting, obligated to do things on a list. By the time we're in high school, we're obligated again to meet criteria, but we're also still trying to fit in with people. We don't know ourselves.
Right.
And then right away, I became a young mom at 19. I had friends who became moms at 15, 14. And I was like, oh my God, that's hard. I don't want to go there. But I was the rebellious kind. I was fighting my own battles at home with my parents, of trying to get out of that Catholic, traditional, you do as I say goes, like no fun. It's like there's no fun. It's just all hard work. There's no play. And if you play, it's on, you got to make sure it's this day, because if you pick this day, you can't go out tomorrow.
Right.
And not only that, but meeting with Christ was only on Sundays.
Right.
Why do you want me to dedicate myself to somebody like that only for once a week?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what was going on with me, because I was conditioned a whole separate way. And this is the role, this is your script, and this is how it has to go.
Yeah.
And I think what helped me was the fact that I not only, I don't know, it was just an innate feeling to know that you want to go play with your friends, this is your chance. Go outside and play. You're getting older. Your parents can't always keep you in the house like that. Right. And my mom would meet me with my energy. Believe me or not, she would kick me out of the house and everything. So I don't want to be that to my kids.
Right.
Help me, because I didn't get taught this. What is this? Help me, right. God, please. And I'm on my knees and I'm crying and I'm begging and I'm like, I don't want to put fear into my children.
Right.
I don't want her to be scared of me, to say, hey, somebody touched me, because she's scared of a mom's reaction. Like, no. And so I have been battling these whole battles for a year, these outside forces, meaning like with my, I just got my own house. And when we're in a mesh Mexican family, everybody still tries to get involved. Right. But this is my house. You're not going to tell me how to run my house finally. And I'm in it, And so I'm getting met by everybody. Oh my God, they're trying to tell me how to rule my kingdom, my queendom, And what helped me so much was the fact that I crossed paths with a man who came from a different background, with a man who came with a different story that I've ever heard too, and I wasn't used to. But he grew up as a Christian. And as Christians, it was so weird for me as a Catholic to look at Christians, because I'm like, why y'all all glory and happy all the time? Like, why y'all happy after you get out of church? Like, I don't do like that. We're kneel, right. pray, boom. Right. Kneel, say your Hail Marys.
Right.
You don't have that connection.
Right. I want to talk about that. So, and I want to relate that back to the Christ consciousness. I can't say that word today. But let me take a quick little break, and then we're going to come right back to that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So welcome back. We took a little break, but I wanted to get in touch with the last thing that we just commented about. And it's so we're talking about Christ consciousness, but we're also talking about, both you and I were brought up Catholic, and now you have come more into the Christian belief system. Mm. Explain to us, and then I'll tell you my part. Explain to us the difference that you see. Let's just start off being raised Catholic and seeing Christian things now.
Oh, the comparison. Well, first it had to do with, do I baptize my child? Do I make it a big ceremony? Or do we just do what the Christians do when they dedicate their children? And that doesn't come until they're older, or whatever age, maybe 3, I believe. But and as a Catholic, we're brought up already conditioned with having to meet some requirements in our stage and our phases. And myself personally, I got baptized and I got confirmation, but I never received, I did my communion, but I never did my confirmation.
Same.
So I do have 2 older siblings, and they did do all 3, and so being the youngest, already rebellious, and being in that stage, well, what is what? Because I didn't believe in having to conform myself in something that I only have a relationship with you once a week. And I fear you, because if you find out about me, oh man, you see what I'm doing? Like, no, you don't, it's just in the back of the head. But when it came to being open now to, wanting to, it was just a curiosity. Like literally, like why? And I've seen this from growing up. When I was maybe 13 years old, my best friend was a Christian, and she would get picked up by the buses, and she would get picked up by the Christian buses, and with all these kids, and they would have a blast. They would be always having a really beautiful times together. And me and one of my other neighbors, childhood friends, we were actually brought up very conditioned and with strict Catholic ways.
Right.
And we never understood, like, why are you going to church and why is it always so happy?
Right.
So learning, I was like, you know what, now as an adult, and I have a significant other who comes from that background, but he's not really about church. Really, he's not anything about that. So it was more of my own doings of wanting to get into it. And I needed to be open to that because, I have now criticism from my family, actually, like, what are you doing? You know, you're not doing the things properly. You're not going to get married. You're not doing anything. You're having a family. And I'm doing it very different in that sense of tradition. So I had to be open to not only that Christianity way, but I wanted to link it together, like in biblical forms. Like, what do the Bible, like, if this is different religion, we're all reading the same Bible. Why are we having all these different morals, beliefs, and systems, you know, like, and I believe in the Virgin Mary. I believe in La Santa Juana. I believe in all that. And my angels. And then in Christianity, it's just Christ, and that's it. It's Christ.
Right.
Yes.
So, and okay. So a few things. I was brought up Catholic as well. And it's funny because I was baptized. I did the first communion. I never went through the confirmation. And being Hispanics, because you're from Mexico, I am from Colombia. Being from Hispanic countries and cultures, they are very heavily reliant on the Catholic. Of course, there's everything, but the dominance is Catholic. To me, it always seemed, and maybe it was my spiritual side, or it was my rebellious side, or is the I don't really care side of me. I don't know. But to me, it always seemed like that's just the thing you do. When I had my daughter, I baptized her because that's just the thing you do. You baptize her, you have the baptism, have the party. I mean, to me, it was more of a, we're going to celebrate. But I never really felt indoctrinated into the Catholic. I never felt indoctrinated into the why we're doing this. And don't get me wrong, there are people who are whatever religion they are. I'm just talking Catholic and Christian because that's the topic we're talking about right now. Whatever religion or belief anybody wants to go into, as long as it's working for them and it's actually connecting them to that higher, whatever they want to call it, God, source, whatever, if it works for them and they feel it, awesome. But I think a lot of the people do the rituals and do the steps because it is the thing to do. And just like you just said, now that you're not doing Catholic and you're looking into the Christian, then you have family members telling you, well, that's wrong. And you're probably going to go to hell and you're doing this wrong and you're going to screw up your kids. And I know it because I heard all of it. I heard absolutely all of it.
Okay.
What's funny to me is the difference that I've seen in Catholic and Christian. So a few years ago, I'm living now in Houston, but when I used to live in South Florida, I started going to a church that was called Baptist something. So it wasn't necessarily Christian, but it was more Baptist, but I never really got the full picture. But I used to actually enjoy going because it was fun.
Yeah.
Catholic church for me was never fun. It was always, this is a reading, this is a prayer, this is what you're supposed to do. And I never understood it. In this Baptist place, it was it was very theatrical, very theatrical. They upped the stage, everything was always by themes, but it made sense to me and it felt good going. And you would leave happy. And off camera right now on our break, I was sharing with you that this past week, I led the women's circle here locally. Yes. And I did it based on the resurrection and the rising from the Phoenix and what part of your life do you want to, bring back to life or create a new life in. We were 3 Catholics and 1 Christian. And when we all shared our experiences in precisely what we're talking about, it was funny because the 3 Catholics were talking about our view and our experience. And the Christian lady was just looking at us like, wow, I never knew that. I love going to church. And it's just what you said about your friend. I used to love going to church. I still go, we do this and we do enjoyment and I feel fulfilled. Yeah. And bringing it back to Christ consciousness, that is the part of fulfillment. That is the part of, okay, so for me, Christ consciousness, my definition is knowing that the Christ consciousness is a consciousness. It's not exactly Christ, the person. Christians believe in the Christ as a person. Catholics believe in Jesus, the Virgin Mary, the saints, the apostles, you know, the whole shebang. But for me, the way that I've learned to see Christ consciousness is what this man we call Jesus actually came to teach was the Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
We just started calling him Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So it was all external.
Yeah.
Christ consciousness actually to me means we have that consciousness inside of us. And it's just a matter of connecting to it because we are our own temple. We are our own church. And I think that's where through so many years and centuries, I don't want to say the word misled, but we have been taught differently.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to our heart to connect to that Christ consciousness, regardless of the religious beliefs we may have, therefore inherited or gone into ourselves.
Yeah. And it was, yeah, you're right. And it's very difficult to have that, how you say, within the heart, to feel that fulfillment.
Right.
As Catholics, we're conditioned of fear. It's already a burden.
Well, the baptism is to clean us of our sins. We were just born. We already have sins. Like,
right.
Really?
And all that message alone that's here, I think it does have to do with something. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, as reading it on both ends and being in a different perspective, not judging any religious factor, I believe that means because we come with past life as a shaman. That's how I connect everything. I think very differently, and it's like a braid. And so it's like you come into this life with sin, karma, and then I go into the Hindu religious, like, what do you know about that? But that's a whole other aspect of going into that. But right now with the Christ and juggling those two alone for the past 7 years while I was bringing up children and being a mom, being conditioned as a Catholic, we are already brought up to obligations to do things, to be conformed, to just do confirmations and do what the system of hierarchy is asking of us. That's what the Roman is. That's what the Roman Catholics do. We are brought up to serve. We are brought up to serve man. We are brought up to serve our children. We are brought up of everything. And then that's what I got brought up. But now all that serving you is pissing me, excuse my language, it's pissing me off because I ain't being seen. I'm not getting valued. I'm not getting the words of praise that I want to hear. Right. And not only that, but all this juggling, all these burdens, because I'm conformed to serve man. I'm doing stuff. And then here's my other half who's like chilling on the thing. And he's like, but why do you do that? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
right. There's a choice. Right.
Yeah. And I can't get mad at him because he's literally just like, what are you doing? Just sit down and watch a movie with us. And I'm like, but I got to do this. I'm like, because in our mind, we're meant to clean, we're meant to cook, we're meant to serve man. And it says that in the Bible, Martha and Mary, when they were with Jesus and they were sitting there and then, Martha's looking at Mary and Mary's like, oh, la 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 about Jesus, like, tell me more. And Martha's just cleaning. And then he's like, why do you choose to do? I'm like, and I saw him right then. I said, oh no. And I was just like, but why, And then I'm like, no, but seriously, why do you do that now? I was like, for real, why am I doing it? I'm like, he doesn't expect you to serve him. He didn't get brought up like that. I was like, dun, dun, dun. There comes a divine intervention now. Yeah. And so I was like in the middle, whatever. And I was like, what do I do? And that, like I said, that I usually in that aspect, my old patterns were to collide back with the system. But in this sense, I came to don't move, don't do anything, don't rattle anything, just sit still and pray and listen. And something when I'm praying, and I'm hearing about meditation because I'm having this monkey mind scattered, so much to do. And I'm like, oh, help me because I'm pissed with my kids all the time, triggered. Right. I said, and then it wasn't until my 4-year-old said, why are you so mean to me? That I was like, oh my gosh, she's calling me out, like, why am I so mean to her?
Right.
And it's funny that you mentioned the life, death, and rebirth, because when I went back down to meditate, and I this is my office right now, my little setup, and it's upstairs on the second floor, but I started off in the basement. I started off in the underground realm. And that's what it means to be initiated in the Priestess of Innana and the path of the divine feminine. You start in the dark.
Yeah.
You start in the root. Like, why are you doing that? And you have this guy right here who you're just projecting your own issues, and he's not even expecting that of you. And now your kids you're the only way that you can control your kids is off of fear. Dun dun. I'm getting hit left and right. I'm like, what's discipline? What's going too far? In the Catholic, you get hit when you're studying. I'm here being that teacher for my daughter. How do I not put fear because she doesn't know what 5 plus this is?
Right.
Without her getting scared, like, oh my God. And then her brain, all her neurons are not connecting to her axons, and nothing's making a connection because she's just based off fear.
Yeah.
Off of this, I am her source. Just like he is my source, help me. And I went to the Virgin Mary, and I on my knees, and I cried, and I was right there, and being initiated in this is ugly, and it hurts, and it feels vulnerable. And that's one thing also that we don't know how to feel as women who are conditioned to meet others' priorities. We don't show that vulnerability. We are always put together. We are always, ready for the next one. But that was the thing. We're like, we're so ready going on to the next one. We don't even reflect or feel what happened in the past one.
Right.
You need to feel what just happened in that past one, because now we're just, and there's another we that, like Jesus said, you're carrying all those burdens. You're choosing to bring that along. You're choosing to clean instead of chilling with your family.
And I think that's a very important factor. We get to decide, but it's until we realize that we have the power to decide and then do something about it, because it's not always easy. We've been trained a certain way, regardless, parenthood, society, whatever. We're set in our ways in several things. And our body is just a computer. And our personality is just a reframe of habits that we tended to do until we made it our personality.
Yes.
So even if we quote unquote say, okay, I choose to do differently, many of us fall back into the same patterns, because until we don't practice enough and understand it enough and really have that confidence and that knowing, the shift doesn't happen. But it's those, I call them a dark night of the soul. And I've had many of them. I mean, one of my darkest nights of the soul lasted for about a decade. Like it's a real long freaking night, but you fall back in and then you get out, and you fall back in and you get back out. But it's having that conviction that I saw things differently, and I want something different for my kids. As moms, we do whatever it takes for our kids. And I'm going to take it a step further and throw everything off course. So I shared with you before, I've been a single mom for 17 years. I had to step into the breadwinner, nurturer, do everything.
Mm-hmm.
When I studied alternative medicine, it was a 3-year complementary program. It was a 3-year program. I didn't want to face some of the things that were coming up, because it was stirring a lot of stuff in me I didn't even know I had. I was so conditioned in my life. Wow. He was like, what kind of issue do you want to work on? I was like, I have no issues. By the end of the 3rd year, I was like, yeah, that was a joke. That had so many.
Oh my God.
We all repress a lot of things and we're not even aware of it. The only reason I really put myself through a lot of those things, which I am thankful for because it changed my life, was because of the karmic patterns. Karmic patterns in myself, karmic patterns in my family, karmic patterns in our DNA of people we didn't even know, but we carried in our DNA. The only reason I broke through and I overcame them was because I knew that if I didn't change and it didn't stop with me, my daughter and her children we're going to continue that.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the number one reason I went through it, because it's hard.
Yeah.
We talk about all these things, but it's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it is very, very hard. And that's the right, like how you said, the life, birth, and life, death, and rebirth.
Right.
It's learning that you actually did get, brought up wrong in those wrong manners, and accepting it, and accepting the connections, and feeling that pain of knowing what you have to do, even though it's the brain not accepting, but making all those connections when it comes to making those better decisions. And how do you stop? Well, how do you stop? You got to feel it. And a lot of people don't want to face that. That's when you feel death, la muerte, coming to you. But, the moms have feared so much of that mirror, that face-to-face controversy, that they end up, channeling it somewhere else instead of themselves.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, what I was doing, when I was not looking within, I kept telling my kids what to do, controlling them, hovering over them. They're only 3, 4, 5 years old. Why are you teaching them already how to clean up? Like, let them be little kids, let them live, man. Let them enjoy what they're doing with their blacks, and interact with them. But then how do you interact with them without everything, with connecting? Because when you're in a Hispanic culture, you get raised to sit down on a sofa on Saturday morning, stay right there, and I'm going to clean the house. That's protocol. I'm sorry.
I know. Well, for me, it's Saturday morning. It's day to clean the house. All of us.
Don't you from that sofa into the floors are clean, and everywhere. That's what it is, because we work so much throughout the week, and that's our cleaning day. And even on your day off, you're still working.
Yeah.
And you're supposed, on Sunday, when you're supposed to enjoy yourself for fulfillment, you're not even doing that, because you're going to church, and it's obligation. It's not even because you want to connect. It's an expectation. And it's like, okay, now the teenager rebellion girl's gonna kick in, and it's like, you expect me to conform? Like, I didn't do confirmation. Like, A, I didn't sign up for this. B, I didn't. But it was my own doing. Like, how it was very difficult for me to have to lose a lot of my of the people around me, to see, how I was projecting it onto my life when it was not expected, because he did not come from the same background. Not expect to be served hand and foot. Like, he did not expect to be that. So it's very confusing for an American girl who gets raised as a Catholic, because now we're getting met by these men who don't do that, but we're here serving them and giving them so much of us and teaching our daughters to do the same. No. Give me the Secret Universe channel, please, because my daughter's not gonna go through this. And if this isn't it, what is it?
Right.
If it was just because of materialism, 3D, and there was no, what was it? What is it? And so it's that emotional connection that you must build with your kids. It's that bond. You need to have that source with them.
But if we're relating it back to consciousness, everything outside of us is a mirror for us.
Yeah.
If we're not able to connect to our own kids, it's because we're missing our connection to ourselves. And the way that we feel our connection to ourselves is by connecting to whatever we want to call it, God, consciousness, source. And it's showing us that we can't give what we don't have. But we don't realize that, and we're not taught that. Well, thankfully now we are teaching people that, like through conversations like this, and through awakenings, and through people's experiences and sharing their experiences, because it's that sense of connection that we're missing. But it's the connection to hear.
Yeah, because like I said, I grew up with material. My siblings were older, my parents were middle class. They gave me everything. Anything I asked one time, like, okay, I'll give it to you. and it's not only that, but I believe it had to do with the fact that I grew up as a sick child. I had asthma, prone to a lot of attacks. So I believe that I've been dying since a very young age. I came through that, my mission was to go through a lot of these processes where I can't breathe and I have to learn how to breathe and how to get that oxygen, how to connect it from my brain to my lungs, to my body to circulate. And we are not taught that because we freeze when we're in, like I said, the face of controversy, or we control, or we fawn, or, all those. And so it's a process where, yeah, it's very heartbreaking. It's the burden of having to feel it. Like, are you ready to accept it, or ready to give it to God, ready to connect, because he's waiting, like he's going to open that door for you.
Right.
Are you, and when I say I go into the Bible, because I go deep into the rabbit hole, because then I'm like, so where did the Bible come from? And then I'll go into it that it came from Egypt, from the cuneiforms. And where did the cuneiforms come from? It came from the Sumerians that came from up above, from another planet. And I get deep, and I'm like, metaphysical, quantum physics, chill, bring me down to earth now. So they're like, now it's springtime, go outside and go ground yourself. You need to connect elements. And I'll go outside and I'll ground myself. And it's like, hey, what does Christ have to tell me now, and connecting, because then on the daily, you're being aware and just fulfilled with what you have now. Like how I said, I grew up very sick as a sick child with asthma, and my mom, my dad probably always had the fear of losing me. Probably always had that fear of wanting control over my life, because man, my daughter has these asthma attacks. I need to, always be on top of her. And I understand where they came from, where my family, why they're so conditioned and controlling and hovering in that way. But I didn't want to do that to my kids.
Right.
And I didn't want to put that anxiety onto them. And the burden, those are my own burdens. Those are your burdens. Yeah. Why are you putting your fears of me not breathing onto me when I'm breathing perfectly fine? In fact, when I started when I was 13 years old, I started smoking weed, and it stopped. It totally stopped. It totally, like, my asthma attacks just left, medicinal. And, I would tell them that's your issue, and I could connect why they would be the way they are, not only being Catholic, but also being fearful of me, losing me, because any activity as a child, if I wanted to run, play hide and seek, I would always start wheezing. I was that kid with the inhaler. I was the kid always with the big old asthma machine, having to get respiratory air. So I've always was like, you're taught how to breathe. You need to breathe. And I had to learn how to do that. And, the quarantine, being locked down too, it was like, it's okay. You're Catholic. You're always grounded. You were made for this.
Right.
So it's like a lot of, they're like, just breathe. You're not on lockdown. Don't get paranoid, because the government's doing to you what your parents have done to you your whole life. Don't get triggered now because you're getting that trauma trigger, and don't put it on your kids. Take a step back, Nat. Who are you connected better on a I'm like, I'm getting mad. Why are they, I'm not supposed to be doing this as a mom. I'm not supposed to be being a teacher. I'm not supposed to be telling my daughter this, that, in a fearful mode, because we're all in panic, because we're all on lockdown, because we're all in quarantine, like, the F is this? Right. I'm mad. And who are you mad at? And then I would say, I'm actually mad at you for bringing that flu and everything, for bringing the phantom down to us. What is this? Right. And not only that, but I was freaking out because my children's father works in the sewer. And I'm like, don't bring that into my home. Please, Father God, what do I do? And what do I do? Like, how do I not project this fear onto them? I was getting hit left and right with everything. And my mom, didn't really teach me how to be calm during a storm. I needed to teach that to myself. And, the good thing is that, again, I had the father figure who was not, who comes from a different background, who can, handle the kids, and is not expected to be just the income breadwinner, He's the one that taught me that emotional connection. So I'm looking at him like, the roles are really switched. What the F is going on here? This is not cool. Like, my psyche cannot take it. Like, what's going on? And it was my conditioning ways of how I grew up.
Yeah.
And I said, damn, man, to let that go.
But that's what helped.
To let that go.
Yeah.
You have to go into the underworld.
Yeah.
You have to set it to the ashes and rise like a phoenix.
Yes, you do.
And you need
that's the thing.
Yeah.
So what happens? Okay. So let's jump into Kuan Yin, because I know we wanted to talk about that.
Oh, yes.
How does she represent in this? Because once you rise from the ashes, you rise with this fear. And that's why I just remembered that.
Yes, you do. So I actually, as a shaman, I'm going to tell you how I started going through knowing that I was getting initiated. One day, when I'm meditating on the floor, I guess I rose up too quickly. I don't know what happened, but I felt like a seizure, but I'm up. And this is actually the tantric, what is it? The shock, it's called the Tantric Shock or something, when you're getting the initiated. Even as a shaman, when that's happening, you're getting channeled. Okay. And it's really crazy when it's a trance. There you go. Okay. When I was going through a physical trance where my whole body just started going through, like it felt like you were in a rave club. Okay. And going crazy. And this is me just regular, and I couldn't control my body. And that's when I was getting really freaked out one time. And it was like, calm down, feel your breath, feel your heart going on with everything like that. How do you go ahead and be calm when you can't control your own breathing, when you can't control your own breath? How do you remain calm with that? And as a shaman, that was really hard, because all you know is death. How do you, So I needed to go back to, well, why did we start all this? How did this Christ consciousness start off on? And I said, being a better mom. And so they're like, okay, and as a better mom, what did you always want to see? You need to connect that. And it's like, you want to be that light. So who's the light? And then all of a sudden I would get these learnings with going with like just random universal signs of like druid teachings and Toltec, and going from that to where it comes from the Japanese, from way in the back, from the Japanese teachings of balancing the dragons, the yin and the yang and all of that. So I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're doing. And it's like, now we're transitioning now into something new. And it's because your old ways aren't working anymore. Mm-hmm. So now we must transition into something new. What do I have to do? You need to bring in the culture of, and I'm going to be right here, but my Kalima. Okay. And I go into her, and who is she when she is the divine mother? She's, and that's something that she can transform. Mm-hmm. And then where does she come from? She comes from another root, where in China, they call her, she's like the manifestation, the embodiment of Kuan Yin when she's in her divine feminine form. I said, how do I be that? Right. I want to learn how to be the light too, not towards my kids, but only towards my babies, so that they know, they feel it. They feel that genuine connection, that bond. And that I feel with you now, that when I go to church, and it's about, now we need to learn how to remother our inner child, to teach her not to fear nothing or no one. Yeah. And that's a whole other process when you're actually now reparenting yourself and your parent and their parent, because they're looking at you like, what? But you're still having to model forgiveness, understanding, patience, space, and love from a distance. Because Reiki healing, the boundaries, and a lot of that, I work with crystals. So Reiki healing, and how do I do that? And I was just really interested when you go into, where does Reiki come from? I do all that research. I'm very curious like that, and I want to learn everything. The tablet is literally our phone. In the Sumerian Bible, it says the tablet, what's the tablet? Our phone. Everything is in there. It's just about your mind wanting to accept it, be open, and doing the research to get the resources that you want to do. Because we are all divine feminine, really. We are all, very curious about how, wanting to make it better for our kids so that they don't repeat those patterns. But how do I tell her? Because that was my mom. She wanted to, in my process, I did a lot of mistakes in my relationship, learning how, not make transitions in a shaky, rattling way, and now he's getting a new side of me who doesn't do what she used to do. What's happening here?
Right.
Well, I'm learning now that you loved me when I served you, and that's not the way I want my daughters to be.
Right. And that's all perfectly fine, because for some reason you woke up. For some reason, it's when you did. And even though we're doing it for the kids, they're the ones teaching us.
Isn't that crazy?
They're the ones teaching us.
Oh my God. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And that's their soul. They are old souls. And if you look at some kids in their eyes, you can tell. You can tell.
I think it's a topic for another day, but there are some kids, we all come with different vibrations. And our soul also depends on the vibration that we bring, because it's our experience. But the new wave of kids that are coming in now, like the little kids and the ones for the past few years, they're coming in with such high frequencies because they're frequent. Okay, so let's get a little metaphysical and quantum here. The earth itself, Gaia, has her own vibration, and Gaia's vibration is raising. As we each do our process, we are also raising in order to catch up and to meet up and to ascend, because that is the plan. Some of these kids are coming with their vibration much higher than we are right now, because they are already higher, because they're matching everything. So it's kind of a game for us, as in, well, now they're higher. Now we have to catch up to them as well. But for some reason, our soul came to do. I mean, I've shared with you before, I've been on this journey for 20 something years. Everything that you're just saying, I found out about this, so I looked more into it and I dug into it. And that's exactly been my story. I've been awakened to so many different things, and I'll talk to so many different people, and they'll tell me one thing, and I'll go research it and find out and get myself involved and learn it. And everything gives us a sense of ascension. Everything gives us more awareness, but it's kind of wrapping it up, and let's start wrapping it up for today, but kind of wrapping it up in the same sense. Everything leads to the understanding that love is the basis of all.
Yeah.
And it's that Christ consciousness, whether we want to see the love through the love for our kids, or we want to see the love for ourselves, or we want to see the love for another, or the love to even go into a church. It's coming into all essence that what can we do to better ourselves? This is the way I see it. What can we do to better our individual self and our collective? Because by me raising myself, I help you, because I'm able to give you support, because I understand where you're coming from.
Yes. And that helps so much for a young, and I'm going to say it, for like a young single, mother of three who does not see this happening on a daily basis, or with anybody. You're messing up the system. You're messing up the one thing everybody's aiming for. And it's like, but when it's not built on the solid foundation of unconditional love, because knowing that we're not all perfect, knowing that we're all going to make mistakes, knowing that we're going to rattle the boat and try to be resistant, it's about giving all of that up to Christ to, teach me what I can't see.
Right.
And not only that, but teach me that I'm accepting and they're accepting of me. And that's very difficult for anybody to feel like that nowadays, to be accepted for who they are. Because we're all trying to portray ourselves to be something like we're not on Instagram, and living that good old life. And I just never was into the whole everybody wants to be into this one thing. Like I was always into the opposite.
Right.
Like the phase of all my girls wanted baby fat. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Sean John. Like all the girls want to go to Bratz or Barbies. I'm gonna go to this, to Plain and Sun or something. It was very different. Or vice versa. All my girls wanted to do that, and I was into Barbies. I have an imagination. I like to play like that. Right. I'm very feminine in that, and I'm connected to my inner child in that sense. Right. And it's about knowing that what did you want as a child? And I'm like, what did I? They're like, if you had all the Barbies, all the toys, all the materials, all your animals, what was that one thing you just needed as a child, that you wish to get form? And it's like being the crystalline, you've heard of being that crystalline grid, have that aura of walking in somewhere and raising it up like that. And when we're connecting like this and seeing that, man, I thought I was crazy, but you've been doing all this research and you're understanding with what's going on, and you don't really see that a lot, and people aren't open to doing the work.
Okay, so I'm going to interfere. I do see the crystalline grid around you. You are there.
Yeah.
And it's activated. We can talk about that some other point. But you do have the crystalline grid around you, and this is the reason why. Well, I'm telling you because I can see it and I can feel it. But I'm telling you in a logical sense why I'm saying it. Because you've always been the odd duck out. What you just said. Your friends wanted this, you wanted this. Or you did this and they did this. You've always seen outside the box. You've always been curious. That is one of the things that has helped you get to where you are. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is once you can know, and two, so that everybody that's watching us later on can actually understand, sometimes we feel like the odd duck and the world rebels against us. And I get that. I really do. Again, I've been through this for a long time, and I have had many friends that look at me like I'm psycho and wacko, and many of them just look at me now like, oh, okay, whatever. However, okay, now I'm starting to channel. However, you are where you are right now because you are awakening enough to be the light for people around you, whether they accept it or they don't. Part of your mission is not only just to help yourself, it is to serve, like the Catholics said, but it's not to serve in a sense of obedience and, slavery or put my head down because I'm a woman. It's to serve one another and helping each other grow.
That's what it is.
You doing your work, you are lighting up your crystalline grid.
Mm-hmm. Because
because you chose it.
I choose to be that for serving my other significant other. It brings me light to be like that to him, to serve somebody and to create something up. Not only that, but it's something that you can't always just leave behind. Like I tried to even leave my conditioned ways behind, but you need to honor your roots. You need to honor your tradition and honor them. What's important to you, what stuck out the most to your, and that you want to pass down to your children. The reason why our ancestors have these Dia de los Muertos, have that, is because during slavery, that's the only thing that gave them joy. The dances, the laughs, that while their daughters and everything are getting sold, are getting conformed into what do they call court, or they're getting courted by the white man, or they're getting lynched and everything like that. That was the only connection they had. Everything around them is just my daughter's getting taken, just like it's happening again. And I'm looking, it's a repeated historical events, and we all need to wake up to that.
Right.
Because it's like it's 2022, and why are we in a war right now? Now mothers again, are departing from their children in fear. And when they go into the past life, they're already coming in with that fear. Like there's something there, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
But you need to tell them they're good, they're okay, they're safe. I am safe. But they're actually here is to remind you that you are safe.
Right.
And it's so like I am grounded. I am all this, and that's why I could give it to them.
Yeah.
And it's a hard, connection to want to give up that resistance, that control of yourself.
And it's up to each individual person when their time comes to do that. And they might wake up tomorrow, they might wake up in 3 years, they might never wake up according to us in this lifetime. And I've also learned to understand that maybe some souls came with a purpose to not wake up. And that's something that that's something that we have to honor, because everybody has free will.
That's why
maybe it is their will to stay in a religion. Maybe it is their will to go through whatever they need to go through in life, because that is what they decided they were going to live through in this life. And that's perfectly okay. But it's us coming from a unconditional love, oneness point of view of not judging them, being there, willing and able to help when they come, not trying to convert them. And that's actually kind of the purpose of all these videos that we're doing. I want these videos to be able for people that are coming and seeking and looking for things to have an opportunity to hear people like yourself and I that have gone through all these things. So they know they're not going crazy. I already know I've been going crazy for a long time. So with me, it's perfectly normal. But I want people to understand that it's fine.
It is. And it's about recognizing your patterns, recognizing the universal patterns, and just seeing like, all right, this is happening too much.
Right.
What's going on? Like, we just got to remove the rose-colored glasses, like they say, and be willing to see what's in front of us and what we created ourselves off of our own benefit for our own needs. And now it's not everything like peaches and cream, and
but then again, it could be.
It can
be. So we can remove the rose-colored glasses that we think are there, understand the things, and then put on a different pair of rose-colored glasses to see the world differently, because we don't have to always go to the past to fix it. The moment we decide and we can make a choice, we can switch things around and start having the life that we want, or start creating, or start feeling.
Yes. And it's still a process. Like, you can't give up hope. That's the thing. Right. You have that faith. You have to know that this is just a phase.
Yeah.
This is just a phase, and it's a chapter. It's not my life. Yeah. It's what do I have to do to be better for myself, for my well-being, mind, body, and soul, not only while I'm in it, but when I get out of it. So when I'm out of it, I could be able to tell the difference and enjoy what I'm in.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and so our kids are meant to be honored. Our kids are meant to be, and we're meant to look at our own doings. Like how I said, even with the war, they're probably judging their opinions and choices off of triggers and fears themselves.
Of course.
And they're not willing to look within to say, man, why am I doing this? Probably, and it has to do a lot because of the way our language is. What's our language, our lingo here? What's our language of love, so that we can be on the same page and see how we're going to model these things for others. Because even everything I'm breaking off of my old traditional customs, there's still some of those customs that I want to bring in with me into something new that I'm seeding up from the bottom up. There's still something I take great joy in. So now I'm actually enjoying the fact that, hey, I could serve people and just chill on the sofas with my kids and enjoy their presence.
Right.
Yes, I did it. I found the balance. Right. Because
the sky didn't fall and you didn't die and nothing. It's perfectly safe. Right.
Yeah. And it's like but in order to serve people, you have to serve yourself. Yeah. How do you serve yourself? Well, you really got to go in and face your fears and look within and be accepting of the what you put yourself in, the choices you made, and everything you suggested in this path, and how it's getting reflected. Right. And that's work of a shaman. When we went in there and being in the underground and rising up again, that's why I'm like, oh, you're a shaman yourself. You have your own initiations and paths. And
plenty. Okay, honey, we're running out of time, so I want to start wrapping it up. Based on everything we've talked about, what would be your number one advice for somebody listening to this today?
Let go of the resistance. Resisting yourself. Ask whatever it is that you're doing or that you don't want to agree to. Look within that. Why am I resisting it? What's behind that resistance? Let's remove the rose-colored glasses from that resistance alone. Because as a rebellious teen myself, I know so much about that, personally speaking. I was made from when my dad will tell you, like 2 years old, I had her on a leash. 1990s, they didn't even invent the little backpacks with the leashes, you know? He did his own little string.
Okay, get back here.
All right, but look within and ask yourself, what is it that you're resisting, and what is it trying to tell you? And why are you scared to hear it?
And we all go through that, so I'm sure everybody will find something. And it doesn't matter how far along the path you are, we're always going to be finding something we're resistant to, because that's growth.
And give it to God, yes. And say, I see what I am, and whatever it is that you are resisting, say, I know now what it is. Take it, please. Give that to Christ. Give that up. Stop being controlling of those things and say, it's driving me mad. Like, I can't do it anymore. Yeah. And be with anything, because it's not easy to reach out to people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's right now what we have to do as people. We just have to, like what you're doing, and just be open with our personal experiences, because we all like to cover it up. Yeah. Put on those glasses and post for Instagram. Yep. Still expect them to have a happy smile after you just snapped on them in the back. Well, why did you snap up on them in the back? Yeah. So that's just it. Like, give that all controlling up, and it's work. It's not easy. Yeah. But it's doable. But we're all here, and as long as we're all sharing our stories, really, it's a beautiful thing. And it means that, it's making progress. The age gap, for me to be able to connect to people of different ages now is something really beautiful, because everybody is waking up to their own things and how the world is being. But it's really important that when they can't find the light, because the others are really in their own sense, that we don't lose our own sense of being, and be that radar, be that light holding the barrel in the dark. Yeah, because
a lighthouse.
Yeah,
I always see it. Yeah.
And have faith. You need to have faith. You didn't work hard for nothing, guys. We didn't do all this work materially, physical, and for 3D form to just be locked down like this. What are you trying to tell us?
Beautiful. So when people would love to connect with you, I'm going to put the information below, but can you let us know where they could reach out to you?
Yes, they can reach out to me. I'm easiest to find on Instagram, and I will be putting my links up there where you can get all my personal information to connect to my YouTube page and to a personal page that I'm working on right now. But so more of these connections could happen just worldwide. We're in the age of the Aquarius, and that's what it means, Yep. So it's where all my link will be at. If anything, and my link is Black Moon Lilith. And then you can also find me under life, birth, and rebirth. Birth, life, and rebirth.
Where?
On Instagram.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead and put everything down at the bottom of this video. But Natalie, thank you so much for connecting with us, talking to us, sharing your absolute truth, and sharing your story. And it's what you just said. The more we share our stories, the more other people will realize, okay, I'm going through something similar, or I had something similar, or okay, I wasn't as crazy or cuckoo or whatever it is. So thank you so much for spending the time today.
Oh, no, thank you for taking the time also to, have this connection and do this interview. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we will be talking soon, because I know you and I have a lot of other different topics that we're going to be able to talk about.
Oh, I bet.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. And remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and stay tuned to see what else is next. Thanks. Bye.